Today we are going to look at another way that you can be screwed over by PayPal. We do international sales and generally without incident. Obviously over the last month there's been massive delays with Royal Mail. Everything overseas we send by Royal Mail International tracked. So we got this order near the end of end of November, just as things were really going tits up at Royal Mail, and everything looks perfectly okay. This was paid by PayPal. It was just a cable and an end ring, as you can see down there. All the total was £26.99. Royal Mail tracked is £11. Now, after some weeks, the customer got a bit uppity and put a claim in through PayPal saying he hadn't received the items, which at that time he hadn't, and they put a hold on the transaction, as they always do, and eventually some days ago they just refunded the guy, even though it was out for delivery. So now this is what we've got. This is the Royal Mail click and drop website that we use. So we've got his address that he's entered, we've got all of the different dates and when it was dispatched, manifested, all the tracking events, in transit. It pretty much disappeared for a whole month in Royal Mail, which is a disgrace, but it's totally beyond our control. And then eventually it got delivered, and the status now, if we click on the track and trace, it says delivered, and you can click on continue tracking, and that takes you to the German Postal Service, which is here. There's the number there, and it was delivered on the 7th, which is 3 days ago. And then you can click on this one and it takes you to the DHL, who were obviously handling it on behalf of Royal Mail. And you can see that on the 7th, blah blah blah, you can see on the 7th it arrived at this Regensburg area. Now that's about 50 or 60 miles away from the customer's address, and then it's been 3 hours later they've obviously driven down that way, done a few deliveries, and they've delivered it. And now here's the problem. It's been delivered and it just says Germany. It doesn't say the customer's address or anything there, but the address is on the label. They can't really cock it up. And what have we got here? So this is the PayPal order and the temporary hold, and then they've given the money back to the customer. And what's this one? Yeah, and this is where it all goes tits up. I've just spent an hour on the phone to PayPal saying, why have you given this customer his money back when it's clearly been delivered? And they've said, well, your tracking isn't acceptable. And I said, well, how the hell is the tracking not acceptable? Well, it says it's been delivered on the Royal Mail website. It says it's been delivered on Deutsche Post, and it says it's been delivered by DHL. And they said, yeah, it's not acceptable because it hasn't got the customer's address on there. Well, okay, it hasn't got the customer's address on this. Well, why would it have? They're just saying that an item with, that I've filled in with the customer's address back at the, back here. This is the shipping address. That's where it's gone to. He's entered that, not me. That is automatically transferred over from our shop to click and drop, and that's where it's gone. And they said, aha, but we don't have a registered address for this customer on file. And I said, well, whose problem's that? If you haven't got any details for this guy, how can you possibly penalise the customer for sending them something to an address that they've given? And they wouldn't have it. They've allowed a PayPal payment to be processed from this guy, and I've checked on Google Earth. It's a residential address, picture of the house and everything. But because there's no address on file, they can't compare my address that I've got from our website to their details because they haven't any. But they also won't give me my money back because it doesn't say what address it was delivered to here. But it's kind of irrelevant because they don't have an address on file. It's just utter bloody madness. So I've gone round and round in circles, and eventually, and of course they've not only refunded the guy's money, but they've charged me a 12 quid fee for the privilege. So after bleating on the phone to a supervisor, they've given me a voucher for the $26.99. I'm not getting my 12 quid back, but they're giving me a voucher to spend on wherever I use PayPal for $26.99. So, and I've been with them for donkey's years and have probably put hundreds of thousands their way over the years. So now, to cover ourselves, we're probably going to have to use track and signed, so we get a signature. That may give an improved delivery location, and we're going to have to check every overseas transaction to see if there's a postal address on file, and if there isn't, we're not going to be able to process it safely and securely. If you look at their rules and things, I don't think this is going to take us, no, it's not going to let us do that, but if you look at their rules and regulations, you are not covered if they don't have a address on file for that customer, even though they allow guest checkouts. You can check out as a guest using PayPal with no address on file. So basically the poor seller, like myself, is going to be screwed over again to the tune of $26.99 and £12 fee, despite the fact we've got proof of delivery on 3 different websites, but it doesn't actually say the full address here. But they don't have a full address anyway, so how could they possibly know whether it had been delivered to the correct address? So I'm rambling on a bit now, going round in circles, but isn't that bloody annoying? And yet another case. They actually started saying that the information that they could see was not close enough to the customer's address to be covered. It said it had to be within 20 miles of the customer's address to be valid. And I said, well, look, this is the delivery centre, Regensburg. That's 100 kilometres from the customer, and then 3 hours later on the same day it's been delivered. Well, that's about right, isn't it, if you're 100 kilometres away? But they won't have it. So they were trying to argue that point to start with, that that's too far away from the customer's address, but they don't have a customer's address. So they just seem to be making this one up on the spot. Absolutely shocking behaviour by PayPal, and you can get screwed over. If this had been 300, 400, 500 quid, I'm sat here thinking, oh, absolutely no problems at all. It's come through PayPal, we've got the address, that surely has to match the PayPal details on file, otherwise that could be a massive risk of fraud. But I was wrong again. I got caught out about 15 years ago with PayPal shipping overseas, and I thought I'd learnt all the lessons. But here is another one. Even when you've got proof of delivery, they can still screw you over. My solution, I suspect, is we are now going to refuse to take PayPal payments from overseas customers, and we're going to force every one of them to use a credit card or debit card. Of course, you can still be subject to chargebacks and things like that, but I suspect they're going to have to enter their correct credit card address when they're placing the order or authorising the order, two-factor authentication, whatever system they've got set up. And I've got to go because we've got a customer at the doorstep. So just be warned, if PayPal have no address on file for that customer, you're going to get screwed over potentially.